Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2000 comedy sequel, Next Friday. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Sylvia for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I will try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, Next Friday is one of those sequels that, while it's not anywhere near as good as the first film, it's still entertaining enough. It's one of those movies where I think it honestly could have been even worse, but as it is, it's a little disappointing. For one, not having F. Gary Gray back behind the camera definitely does hurt this movie because he added a certain rawness, authenticity, and cinematic quality to Friday that is very absent in this. Also, not having DJ Pooh involved in the writing definitely was a detriment to the movie because Ice Cube on his own is not nearly as good of a writer. Ice Cube with DJ Pooh or with somebody else, then he's able to be effective or efficient as a writer. On his own, not nearly talented, not nearly good enough to just be the only writer for the film. And taking it away from the hood is also something that definitely does knock this film down a notch or two. I don't know why they didn't just continue the everyday life and going ons in the hood in the sequel. I don't know why they didn't just do that. Go back to the hood, go back to Craig and his family, and introduce Day Day and have him be a new friend that Craig meets because Smokey's out of the picture. You know, that kind of thing. Like I don't understand why they decided to just completely change everything and make it into, oh, now it's a hood suburb movie. It's the hood goes to the suburbs. Like, in theory, the concept isn't terrible. The idea of Craig going from the hood to the suburbs, but the execution is lacking in so many different areas that even the concept isn't fully realized. Now, it doesn't help that you have a director in Steve Carr who, honestly, if you look at his filmography, he might as well be like the used car salesman of film directors. You know, he always brings you some beat up, barely working junk car for the most part. And if he gives you a car that isn't gonna break down immediately as soon as you buy it, it's still several years old and still has plenty of issues. And I don't understand why F. Gary Gray was not even considered to come back as a director. Maybe he was, but he turned it down because the script wasn't really up to his liking. If that's the case, I definitely understand that. I know why Smokey was not involved in this. I know why Chris Tucker didn't come back because he became a born again Christian at the time and felt like being Smokey again was against his beliefs. To each their own, Chris, but I definitely feel that you can be religious and still have a balance and still do film roles like that. That's happened numerous times. In fact, there's a lot of people in Hollywood who are religious and devoutly Christian who still do these kind of films. Uh, they're just able to separate their work life from their church life, you know, that kind of thing. But I understand his thought process, and that's what he decided to do with his life and his career. And honestly, if this just had Smokey in it, it would be a bit better, but it still wouldn't be great. So I don't feel that just having Chris Tucker back solves a lot of this film's problems. If it was still in the hood and you had F. Gary Gray back as the director and DJ Pooh was a co-writer, then we might be onto something. But yeah, the direction is just so average. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's trash. It's not. It's just very average, very run of the mill, very so and serviceable at best. I will say that it has a good consistent amount of energy to it. Like, it's not direction that's lifeless or flat throughout most of the movie. You can definitely tell that it's trying to be wild and over the top, and the direction definitely does match that. It matches the more cartoonish nature of the film, which is what Ice Cube was trying to go for, apparently. I'd never really saw the first Friday as a cartoon, but apparently that's what Ice Cube thought that the franchise was for whatever reason, a hood cartoon. Um, and Steve Carr's direction fits there. I know why Steve Carr was chosen because he had directed some music videos and they did really well and they were stylish, just like what F. Gary Gray did. So I think Ice Cube was thinking that the same sort of thing would happen. Lightning would strike twice with Next Friday and Steve Carr, but that really wasn't the case. I mean, the guy went on to direct like Paul Blart Mall Cop and Doctor Dolittle 2. Like, this is not a director in the same caliber of F. Gary Gray. And yeah, he didn't necessarily get the most consistent performances out of his cast either. There are some scenes where you can actively see some actors like breaking character. Like, there's this whole scene where Day Day is being chased by his ex-girlfriend's sister and she's chasing him around, and you can tell that the sister is cracking up in the middle of it. And she's supposed to be somewhat intimidating, I guess, because she's supposed to be an intimidating presence in terms of, the one that Day Day is afraid of. But here she is cracking up in the middle of a take. Like, a better director would be like, hey, we need to do another take here because that we just completely ruined the illusion. And I know the point is it's supposed to be silly that he's so intimidated by her, but you ruin the joke even further by having her visibly crack up on camera. And there's just other moments with the direction where it's just nowhere near as good. It doesn't have the same cinematic look and feel to it. It doesn't have the same raw grit. It's very bright. It's very shiny. It's very flashy. It's honestly as bright and shiny and flashy as Ice Cube's FUBU jersey that he wears throughout the majority of the film. It's just the wrong vibe and the wrong feel for a Friday film to me. Like, everything's bright and colorful and just flashy. The screenplay by Ice Cube, it's mostly bad to me personally. Like, I don't think that it's outright terrible. It's not a complete and total failure of a screenplay. Because, like I said, the concept of having Craig go to the hood and him staying with his uncle who won the lottery and having this whole conflict and confrontation with the neighbors, the Joker brothers, that's not bad. That's actually pretty decent. It's a good starting point. But the reason why Craig goes to the suburbs is weak. He goes to the suburbs because Debo broke out of prison and is gonna and wants to get revenge. I'm like, okay, you already beat Debo's ass. Why are you so afraid of Debo that you're gonna move out of your hood, out of your neighborhood? Like, that really seems like Craig, it has gone backwards as a character. That's what it seems like. And I got that vibe from the script in general, that the way that Ice Cube wrote his own character was in a way where he went backwards. He didn't go forwards. He didn't learn. He didn't progress as a person. He became a stoner. He became a slacker, even more of a slacker than he was in Friday. He didn't learn anything. He didn't. Oh, I got confidence in myself now. No, he tucks his tail and runs as soon as Debo. He learns that Debo escaped from prison and wants to get him. He then, when he has a confrontation and a fight with Joker, gets his ass kicked. So he didn't even learn how to consistently fight for himself and win fights. So it's just one of those things where, okay, he went backwards as a character. He didn't learn responsibility. He was still living with his parents. He still had no job. And he only has any sort of trajectory as a character in this when it comes to whether or not he's going to get the girl, Joker's sister. That's about it. Because other than that, like, he even like ruins Day Day's life. He ruins Day Day's life. Actively contributes to his car getting more messed up. Contributes to him and Roach getting fired from their jobs. It's this heroic moment at the end. Oh yeah, he's got to get the money to pay for the taxes that his uncle didn't pay, so they could save the house. Okay, there's that whole thing. Because it's a Friday film, so you have to have a conflict involving getting money by a certain time. But he does it by stealing it from the Joker brothers. Yeah, they're criminals, but he's also a criminal. Like, see, there was a whole opportunity for them to get and yes, they did get the money back when they stole it from Debo at the end of Friday. But that was different because that was Smokey's problem. It wasn't Craig's problem. And this is actively Craig's issue. Craig was just wrapped up into it. Like, he was just, because he was Smokey's friend, it also became his problem. But really, it was Smokey's fault. He's the one that was using all the weed. And yeah, Craig smoked some of it, but Smokey smoked the majority of it. And here, it's really Craig's problem. Well, actually, it's Craig's family's problem, not even really actively just Craig's problem on his own. And he solves it by, once again, just doing the same thing, basically, just stealing from somebody else. It's like, there are no lessons learned here other than the wrong ones. I mean, I was not surprised. I would not have been surprised at all if he solved it by shooting Joker and just going completely out of left field and being completely different and doing the complete opposite compared to Friday. But despite my issues with the script, there are some highlights. The scene at Pinky's record store, for instance, is really funny. It's a unique, different setting. The character of Pinky himself is some over the top, loud pimp with a jerry curl, and that whole character and pretty much every scene with him in it is a lot of fun to watch. Day Day, his character is endearing. You definitely do feel for him, and there were a lot of fun moments for that character to shine. A lot of fun little bits of dialogue. I'm pretty sure Ice Cube didn't really write most of them. Pretty sure Mike Epps improvised the majority of it. But whatever Ice Cube did write was still pretty fun. And I did mind his uncle, who was this extravagant, lavish pimp character. There's a lot of pimp characters, now that I think about it. This kind of has this whole pimp vibe, and he's living in the suburbs. But there's other stuff that's just pretty cringe, like the next door neighbor who's Asian, who's named Mrs. Ho, and speaks like a gangster rapper. The whole stuff with Ice Cube's aunt, who is the or I don't know if aunt is the right word because I don't even know if they're married, but you know the uncle's girlfriend, and the whole joke about her just being horny all the time, and that's really about it. Like that was just pretty lazy. And there's a lot of lazy jokes, a lot of lazy humor in this. Lazy stoner jokes, like, haha, the dog got fed a pot brownie and is now high, and stuff like that. Even the Joker brothers, really, if you break it down, they're just a bunch of Chicano stereotypes. But the way that it was written almost felt like it was a satire, so it worked for me. Also, Jacob Vargas and everyone else involved in that uh, gang was really funny. So like that made it something that still worked for me. Um, yeah, the Joker brothers and Pinky, like those scenes are a big reason why I can watch this as a time waster. And of course, Day Day and his whole stuff. But the stuff with Craig's dad, like it's just one big poop joke for his character, which is a shame. He is essentially reduced to a poop joke. That's what his character is in this movie, and that just doesn't jive with me. And there's some other characters, but that have little arcs here and there, but there's really not much to say about it. Um, and yeah, the stuff with Debo and Tyrone, his younger brother, that came out of nowhere, was never involved in the first movie at all, was kind of poor in terms of its execution. Not kind of, it really was, because by the end, like he just gets defeated way too quickly. So he's built up as this intimidating presence who broke out of prison and he wants to get revenge on Craig, and he gets bit by a dog and then taken out by the police in no time flat. And it's like, okay, all this build up for nothing when it comes to Debo and his character. And you never saw Debo again in the third film. So, yeah, definitely not the best script. And even the love story, like the love story with the Joker's younger sister and Ice Cube, like I didn't care about that at all. So I thought the stuff with Nia Long and Ice Cube was stronger in the first movie. And yeah, it's just one of those films where the script is just mostly bad. Like there are some moments where it shines, but like I said, most of the time it's just not very good, especially in comparison to the first Friday. The cast, decent enough. I mean, Ice Cube, I don't think his character is nearly as much fun to watch as the character in the first movie because he's not playing off of Chris Tucker. I mean, Mike Epps is funny, but I don't think he necessarily has the same level of chemistry with Ice Cube as Chris Tucker did in Friday. And Ice Cube's performance in this, it's kind of going through the motions. He's just, I'm Ice Cube and I'm playing myself. That's kind of what it seems like, except for the scenes where I inexplicably get my ass kicked. But other than that, I get the girl. I take the money. I'm able to hide from these gang members wearing a shiny FUBU jersey and not have any problems whatsoever with getting spotted. And yeah, it just seems like really not that great of a performance, like just kind of there. Mike Epps, on the other hand, though, really funny, really charismatic, almost to the point where I'm like, we don't even need Ice Cube. Can we just have more scenes with Mike Epps' character? I understand why Craig Jones is here, but that just makes you think like, what if this was just a Hood in the Suburbs movie with Mike Epps and it's not even a Friday sequel? You have the Joker gang still, but it's Mike Epps and maybe some other actor, and they're trying to get the money. It's inspired by Friday, but it's a different take on things, and it's more of a Mike Epps starring vehicle. Like he's the star of the film anyway, when you really think about it. So honestly, that might have been better. John Witherspoon, I'm not going to be too hard on him because all his character has is mostly shit jokes. He's got mostly shit to work with, literally. So we can only do so much with that. Tamala Jones is Dewana, the pregnant ex of Day Day. She was just there, did okay with the role she was asked to play. Debo, Tommy Tiny Lister Jr., he's intimidating again, but he's not given that much screen time. And what happens at the end, like, oh yeah, he knocks out Joker, but why did he have to be the one to knock out Joker anyway? Couldn't that have been Mike Epps, Day Day, or Craig? I think having it be Day Day would make more sense because that's another establishment of Day Day actually standing up for himself. Because seemed like there was a little bit of an arc going on where Day Day was just kind of a pushover, and maybe that could have been a moment where Day Day, stands his ground, similar to what happened in the first Friday with Craig and Debo, but this time with Debo again, or Day Day at least takes out Joker. But that's really not what happened. Instead, it's Debo that takes out Joker. So I'm like, what? Then you have Justin Pierce, who plays Roach, the friend of Day Day, the stoner skater friend of his. He was fine. He was okay. It's pretty sad, though, that the actor, he took his own life the same year that this film came out. He's probably more well known for his role in Kids, though. Don Curry, I had some fun with him as Uncle Elroy, but the character is pretty one note, and I didn't really care for the whole he's a freak in the bedroom shtick. That did nothing for me. Jacob Vargas as Joker, absolutely hilarious. Definitely one of the funniest actors and performers in the movie. Got some of the biggest laughs from Jacob Vargas. No more locked doors. And just so many just funny scenes with that character. And it's crazy to think that Jacob Vargas, this is the same actor who was one of the delinquent kids that befriended Ernest, and Ernest goes to camp. And then years later, as an adult, he would be Joker, the lead of this Joker gang in Next Friday. You also have Rolando Molina, who plays Baby Joker. You got Lisa Rodriguez as Carla, the sister of the Jokers, who's the love interest for Ice Cube. Both of them are okay. Clifton Powell was a lot of fun as Pinky, intimidating when he needed to be, but also funny. Honestly, seemed like a character that you might see in the universe of Coming to America with his Jerry curl. Kim Whitley is Auntie Sugar, the sex-crazed girlfriend of Elroy. Didn't do that much for me. Sticky Fingers, like what? Sticky Fingers? He was just the younger brother of Debo, who was just essentially smacked around by Debo for the majority of the movie. Completely pointless. I don't know why that wasn't Anthony Johnson. Apparently, that was supposed to be. It was supposed to be his character, Anthony Johnson's crackhead character from Friday. That was originally what was supposed to happen, is that character was going to be in the movie. In fact, the actor who played that character, Azelle, he had made a handshake agreement with Ice Cube a month before the production. But then Ice Cube decided to go a different direction and went with Sticky Fingers, never told AJ Johnson, and was shooting the film without ever contacting AJ Johnson and telling him that, oh, we decided to do a different route here. We decided not to have Azelle back. So Ice Cube was essentially being a total douchebag when it comes to the way he handled that whole situation. And understandably, AJ Johnson has never talked to Ice Cube since 1999. Because Ice Cube not just simply telling him that, oh, we decided to do something different. We're not going to have a Zell in X Friday. Sorry about that. It's just straight up BS. It really is. It's just a bullshit, just shitty move by Ice Cube to just really leave AJ Johnson hanging like that. So, yeah, Sticky Fingers, not much to say about him. And then I really don't know what else to say about anyone else. Like, you got Michael Blackson, who plays the angry customer, who's only in it for like one scene, but he was it was definitely one of the funnier scenes in the movie too, I gotta be honest. The whole scene where he's talking about the CD that doesn't work. Um but yeah, I would say the cast in the first film is just definitely better, but this still isn't a terrible cast by any means. It's still pretty good. And when it comes to other elements of the movie, like the cinematography, like it's fine for a comedy. The editing by Elena Maganini, it's also decent enough. Like, it's not excellent, but it's not particularly egregious either. Like, the editing is fine for what it is. And the movie, it goes by at a decent enough pace. Like, it's not that long. It's 98 minutes. And that's with the end credits. So it's not like it's a film that's particularly that boring. It is a movie though where some of the jokes really don't work, at least not for me personally, and it is too flashy, too colorful, uh, to the point where it really does play out like a cartoon, and that's not really what I want out of a Friday film. But I can watch it as a time waster for Mike Epps, for Clifton Powell, for the Joker brothers, but it's also an example of how things were already starting to go downhill when it comes to the Friday franchise. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Next Friday. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.